Welcome to the PalavaHut Show. I am your host, Gifty Doku. The PalavaHut Show will bring you interviews with guests that would inform, educate, entertain you on various facets of African culture from here in the USA and abroad. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's get the show started. Our guest today is Miss Sharon Lee, if you want to call us that way, or Miss Sharon Lee Minor. You go by many names, King, so just let us know which one you want to go by.
Okay, well, Sharon's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Sharon here has been an artist for how many years now?
Oh, we won't count how many years. Let's just say I was born as an artist. I mean, I really have been doing the arts ever since I was 4. So it's been a long time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And I realized from your bio as well that you're not just stuck to one aspect of art, but you are into all various kinds of arts, like the writing, the songs, the dancing. What was your inspiration? Because that's like a whole lot for one person.
Well, actually, and I really do need to go back to being when I was 4 years old, because I was a very precocious child. Okay. So I was immediately put into dance classes when I was 4. Oh. I come from a family where my grandmother and my great-grandmother made things with their hands. So one of the things that when I got in trouble, being a precocious child, I would be put in a corner with a box of cloth and yarns and things, and I would sit there. I had to be there until I changed my attitude. And so I found myself really discovering things from there. And from there, I learned how to make things at home. My grandmother was a wonderful person that made things with wire and fabric and things. And so a lot of my artwork comes from doing things with fabric.
That's great. It's like you get your own inspiration out by you getting into all these kind of stuff. That's
exactly.
Great.
I mean, primarily my training, even though I've done all these degrees and everything, my training, I had to relearn, go back home to actually find out what was the core of what I want to do with my art.
Oh, that's great. There was one aspect of your history that I read which attracted me. You were more like, you don't just write, but you try to pass a message on, and you want people to get to know more about serious issues. That was like in quotes, serious issues. What are some of these issues you actually try to give out there?
Well, it's very important for people of color, or if we say Africans, and as we go through, and I'm often talking about those who are on the continent, as well as those that are in the diaspora. Okay. So I'm an African woman. I'm an African woman, as Fela would say, original.
Okay.
And because of that, I look at the world, I look at the issues that impact African people. So those issues that have to do with shelter, relationships. I spend a great deal of time working with the kinds of relationships that we have, how we interact with one another, how we interact with other people who are not identifying themselves as African people, although all people came from Africa, we know that.
Yes, that's right.
But there are some Africans in denial. So it's how do we relate to them, the issues of how we treat one another. That's very important to me. So I'm very much, in the arts, I try to focus with that which deals with people relating to one another. I'm an anthropologist too. Oh. So I got into anthropology as I progressed as an artist. And I realized that in Western understanding of what the arts are, it wasn't enough, because what they were talking about is art in the West. I learned that at home. So it was just getting beyond that. How does it relate to people?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell from some of your CDs and your artwork that you traveled all over the world.
Oh,
and I'm sure wherever you go, it gives you a little inspiration to add up to your artwork. Where are some of these places you've been to?
Well, I was very fortunate. I went to Egypt, and I did a study tour with Dr. Ben Yochanan, a very famous Egyptologist. That was an inspiration for a lot of the work that I did back in the 90s. And then I've been to Ghana is my second home. Hey. I mean, I love Ghana.
I'm from Ghana.
I know, Teo yo ten.
That's good. That's a good one.
No, you are, don't.
That's a good one.
Okay. And so Ghana is my second home, but I've also been around. I haven't been in Senegal yet, but I hope to go to Senegal and Gambia, South Africa. I want to go to Morocco. I just finished reading this wonderful book by Randy Weston, the jazz musician, and he did this fabulous autobiography. And I've always been in love with Moroccan architecture. But after listening, and I read the book and I listened to his music, and so Morocco is definitely one of the places I want to visit.
Oh, okay. That's great. I hope you'll be able to bring back something from there to share with all of us. You are a minister as well.
Yes, yes.
How does that come in with your art? Is this something you picked up on the way, or is it something that just came to you? Because most of these things has to be by calling, if I may say.
Yeah, it is a calling. It is a calling, but it's not far removed from making art. Artists are spiritual people. And so it really isn't that far removed, because when I was called into the ministry, I was called in, and it was really interesting. The calling that I received was, God wants his art back. And I was like, whoa. And you know, it's taken years for me to understand what that means, because the art is so much of what makes us human. And that's what preaching does, that's what gospel music, spiritual music, the drum, all of those things that make us human is what the artist works with. And so there's not a separation between the two.
Art is life, actually.
It is, that's it.
It is life, because sometimes I know, I mean, individually, you sit home, sometimes you're sad, you hear a music or you hear a portrait from someone, and it just inspires you and makes you, you know, come back to yourself or forget about your problems and stuff like that. So,
well, that's what we're supposed to do with the arts. The arts are, that's what keeps us centered.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, and what's happening really in some of the spiritual things that are going on that don't feed the spirit, that are more now becoming more bureaucratic and becoming much more sociological rather than dealing with the human spirit. And the arts, so hopefully we're getting that done. A lot of that was done in the 60s, which inspired so much socially in this country and around the world, that was really triggered because it was inspired by the music, by the visuals, and people felt the empowerment from it.
That's great. You teach.
Yes.
At one of these universities in D.C. or in Maryland, I think.
Well, it's University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, the honors university.
Go for it. What do you actually teach over there?
Africana Studies.
Oh.
Yeah, I teach. I'm part-time there. I love it. It's really wonderful. The president there is just a great, President Rabowski is just a profound person. And I work in the Africana Studies department, working with Black family and Black church. And so I love doing that. That's one of my jobs.
That's one of them. Well, dancing is one of them as well.
Yeah. Well, I also work for Montgomery County Public Schools.
Oh.
And so those are my babies. So when people ask me, who do I teach? I say, from the womb to the tomb. Okay.
So you pick them right from the bottom and all the way to the, that's great.
Yeah.
You choreograph some dances as well.
Yes.
Do you kind of, is it based on the colleges you teach, or you have your own dance groups that you teach, or you kind of recruit people to get that going?
Well, I'm a choreographer, so, and I've had 3 dance companies over the years. I like making things, and so sometimes it's dances. As a matter of fact, one on the CD is My Reality as a Maker, and it talks about the creative process and what I do. And so some of it comes out, the creative process comes out as a dance and movement. I tend to call it movement. And I was one of the first people talking about call and being called, and I said, God wants his art back. And one of the things I did was I introduced dance back into the church. And it was very crazy then, because at that time in the Black church, people were not dancing. And so tar and feathers were always something I was concerned about, because people resisted, which was so natural. Even now, some of the things that are going on in the church again, it's the inspiration of dance and movement from the spirit.
Oh.
It goes right back into the spirit. So I was one of the pioneers, and it was amazing.
Wow.
So now to see that it has grown so wonderfully and so many people have benefited from it, it's really good.
Dance actually is a way of expression.
Yes.
And like you're saying, back home or when I was born, I never saw anything like that. Actually, even now, you can see a traditional dance actually being done. It's a different way of dancing in the church. But I think I've seen a few couple of the kind of dances you're talking about.
Well, they call it liturgical dance. I call it, what I was doing when I was very active, because I also did the program, the dance program at Rankin Chapel at Howard University. That's one of the schools where I studied, the School of Divinity there at Howard.
Okay.
And what I call the dancing that I would do, the teaching that I was doing, and the kind of dancing, because I was doing a lot of individual work, solo work after a while, it was congregational worship through dance. And that's a little different. That's not performance, it's healing. So when you can get a congregation, like there's one piece called Evocation, and it was published and produced by Smithsonian Institution a few years ago. And when you can get a congregation to move, the healing
takes place.
General. I mean, it's amazing. I have seen people actually get up, and it's a healing.
It's been nice hearing all that about you. That's like a big introduction for me. Well, we're gonna take a quick break. And
my name's Reggie. Just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. And we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm gonna feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
welcome back. We've been talking to Mrs Sharon King here. She's been telling us so much about herself, the trip she's been on to, what her inspiration has been, her work all over the place. And now we're gonna take like a quick run through one of her CDs and hear one of her songs, so we get a chance to listen to it. So open your ears wide and let's hear this one out.
Bahama Mama, God's misunderstood child, dignified beauty captures your radiant smile. Working your fingers, computing with your mind, marketing worlds that force yours to stay behind. Beautiful ladies of colors, soft and brown, eyes lowered slightly until the sun is down. Beautiful ladies of colors, soft and bright, keeping it quietly in until the night. Bahama Mama, I see you and wonder why, Bahama Mama, I see you and start to cry, 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 cry. Women of color, watching your men perform physical pleasures with those who bid forlorn. Beautiful ladies of colors, soft and brown, eyes lowered slightly until the sun is down. Beautiful ladies of colors, soft and bright, keeping it quietly in until the night. Bahama Mama, I see you and wonder why, Bahama mama, I see you and start to cry, 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 cry. Bahama mama, I see. Bahama mama, I see you.
And like you were saying, that's exactly what music should do. That's exactly what dance or any way you want to express yourself should be. Right. That was so relaxing for me. Yes. And I'm sure if people get their hands on this, they're really going to enjoy this immensely. That's great.
Thank you.
And you have the waves in the bag and like so soothing.
Yes.
To calm you down. Was the title Bahama Mama like I heard from it or?
It was Bahama Mama.
Okay.
It was done back in the 90s when one of my trips to the Bahamas.
Okay.
And I was really kind of naive. It was really an amazing, actually it was in the 80s when it happened because I was shocked to see what goes on in the tourist industry when women of color, people of color, how the men are escorts quite often. And accommodate in the tourist trade. And I was very naive. I think I lived a very sheltered life. Artists live very sheltered. And so I was very surprised at it. And I also was surprised at how the women had to accept it, how women of color had to accept this, because this is bread and butter. This is how you make your living. This is how families survive. And I'm always interested in how families survive. And so I wrote this song when I came back. And I composed it before I even put words to it, I did the music because I like to play the piano. I play at any instrument if I feel that's what I need. And then I put the words to it, and then I used to sing it a cappella at the annual African Festival in Columbus, Ohio, the Afro Fair. But the music for that, and there are two versions on the actual CD. The music is all computer. Everything is computerized. All the music, no instruments, no band or anything. It's all computer. And so that's what you hear, the sound effects.
Yeah, and I see why you say your kids enjoyed it. You see you had a class of little kids and this was like amazing for them.
Yes.
How do they understand the song in this? Is there any other way you expressed it to them, or you just wanted them to know how much you put in there and what it does to you?
Well, I didn't play Bahama Mama for them.
I was like,
no,
is that the one they enjoyed actually?
No, they liked the instrumental, which is Auntie Afrika instrumental. There are two versions of Auntie Afrika. One is instrumental, and then the other one is the vocal, which was very painful for me to finally do the vocal part. And now we can talk about that. But they loved the instrumental. And then the other one they loved was 4 Times Moved, because 4 Times Moved talks about me buying land in Ghana. Yes.
It's one of your serious concerns you want to put out.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this whole land issue, when it happened to me, because I bought land in Ghana, I'm still trying to get money back from the architect, which is, I don't know if that's going to ever happen. But the land, I was reimbursed for the land. The people, I have an adoptive family, and they treat me so well. And so, but the issue of land is not just an issue in Ghana, even though that was my experience. It's an issue globally and throughout the continent. And people, the way large corporations are now going in and taking the land, and what's happening to people, the villages and the people who own the land, and the chieftaincy and all the details, and then the government. I mean, I stepped into something I had no idea I was getting into. And then when I started telling people about it, they were like, oh, well, you think that's bad. If you were Ghanaian, it's even worse.
Okay? You have the other name, Auntie Afrika, and I think we're going to get back into that. But before that, let's just take a quick break and take in more some of our public service announcements. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere.
So my uncle calls and he says he's dizzy and he's losing his balance. I'm like, Unc, you want me to take you to a doctor? He's like, no, I'm gonna look up the symptoms. I said, your symptoms are you're dizzy and you're losing your balance. So he said, I can't get on the internet because my arm is numb. I said, well, use your good arm and dial 911. Stroke's no joke. If you or someone you love is showing symptoms of stroke, don't wait because it might be too late. Dial 911. Time lost is brain lost.
So welcome back. I've been talking to Miss Sharon here, Miss Sharon Lee King, and it's been great with all these stories I'm hearing. Auntie Afrika is the other name.
Yes.
How did you come by that?
It's really interesting because I never thought of myself as Auntie Afrika. Okay. That wasn't the idea. I wasn't trying to become Auntie Afrika. The idea was that through all the experiences I was having, I saw that the experience of the diasporan, going back, we know we call Africa, the continent, Mother Africa.
That's
We
right.
always say we're going back to the motherland. We're going to do this and that. But through the experiences, I realized that we've been away a long time. 400 years, 500 years makes a difference. And when we do attempt to return, and quite often many of us return very romantic, naive notions about, oh, we're going back to the motherland. But to be honest, Africa there's all kinds of complexities with that relationship, the bridge between the continent and the diaspora. So as I was agonizing over 4 times moved, I was agonizing over, I said, I don't feel like Africa is my motherland. I feel like it's more my aunt. And auntie is a very important relationship. I mean, I was very close.
It's a strong personality when it comes to our culture.
Yes, the auntie is someone out of respect. The auntie is, I mean, my Aunt Marie was very important to me. So the relationship of the diasporan, this is what I'm thinking. The relationship for the diasporan is more that Africa is like our auntie. And that's how Auntie Afrika
So
came
now we're
about.
going to take our mother African name away and put Auntie Afrika over there.
Well, not take it away. I hope, if anything, makes it alert on that side that, wait a minute, we need to, and that's what this CD is about. We need to look at the relationships honestly. Because everything, when people here in America, when black people in America go to Africa, many of them have studied very much, knowing a lot about African history.
They make that step.
And they have sacrificed a great deal of money to make that trip. So to go there and not be considered an African, like the first time I was called an Obruni, girl, I was like amazed because
you're like, no, I belong to you. I'm here. I'm part of you.
Another one of those earring moments. Because it was like, no, I am an African. I'm an African. But to call me an Obruni, and you can never, there's no way. It's in a very offensive term for someone who is struggled and sacrificed to come back. I'm African American. Although, after going through some experiences, I didn't realize how American I was.
That's why they usually, because I mean, anybody who comes from outside, if you're sitting back home and you're just one of them, you tend to look at that person and place them on some esteem because you're like, they're not from here. Everything about them is different. And that's how they come about the name the Obronis.
Yes.
Like, you're from a foreign land.
Yes, but we have to correct that because we are not from a foreign land. When I go into those forts, I don't call them castles. When I go in those forts, I can feel the energy.
The pain and all that they went through.
Yes, so it's not a thing that we're not foreign. Yes. We may, because of the dispersion and the dispossession, and there've been some disconnections, but we are not.
Us all back.
We're all there.
Same.
We're all there. We're one people, and we need to but it's going to take time.
It will.
And hopefully,
it will do
help.
that for us.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that brings us to your first CD. that was titled Sailor?
Selah.
Sailor. That's like
Yes.
peace or rest.
Okay, Selah. This is the first one.
Okay.
That was done. Selah is a term that's in the Bible, the Holy
Yes.
Bible, and it means to pause. It's a musical term.
Okay.
It means to pause. But actually, I had done a sermon or sermonette. It's a long, lengthy poem called Selah.
Okay.
And so we did that on the CD. I did with live musicians. We went into this wonderful studio called Chicken Coop. It was so great, and they're no longer around. But Vittel Cherry, Chris, Chuck Farrell, and I mean, there were 3 musicians, and then my daughter, who also worked on this one with me too. We went into the Chicken Coop, and in one take, we did the whole. We did the whole CD, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
That's great, because I know you mentioned few people that helped you make this possible, like Chuck Farrell and
Vittel Cherry, Kenneth Robinson, who's over in California now. He is the founder. He made his ensembles called Creation, and they were so inspiring because Vittel, he calls me his mentor, but I think it was, it's like an exchange.
The opposite
all right.
way.
He opened a way, and they invited me to do my poetry with them. And that was just a great experience. And then my daughter, with that producerchick.com, she's the one that did all the leveling of the music and everything.
Okay. So I know if people want to get to listen to it and get to know more about you, it's AuntieAfrika.com?
It's AuntieAfrika.com. That's where I have my website.
Okay.
I have a lengthier term, CyberChurchInternationalAcademy.com, where you can hear some of the music. It's being offered on iTunes, CD Baby, Dig Station. All you have to do is Google me. Google me, Sharon Lee Minor.
Sharon Lee Minor.
Because that's my art term. My African name is Aku.
Aku, that's a Wednesday born.
Yes, right. Firstborn Wednesday girl, and of my family. And then you can just go and you'll find all of my details.
All right, so we have Selah, the first CD, and Auntie Afrika, the second one.
Yes.
And you can find all that if they Google Sharon Lee Minor.
Yes.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for having you here.
Welcome.
It's been an honor for me. And reading your bio and all that you're doing, I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
To be able to bring all this out.
To God be the glory.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thanks for watching the PalavaHut Show. You can find us online at www.palavahut.com and on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PalavaHut. And follow us on Twitter as well at PalavaHut. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
PalavaHut, discuss about the ethics and community. PalavaHut, worldwide trades and the politics. PalavaHut, entertainment, fashion, keep it musical. PalavaHut, international. You can come to the PalavaHut, discuss about the ethics and community. PalavaHut, worldwide trades and the politics. PalavaHut, entertainment, fashion, keep it musical. PalavaHut, international. You can come to the PalavaHut. Chessboard, kings and queens. Life is like a circle. PalavaHut is the brain from politics.